Hey, what's up? This is Tim from Rise Against, and you're watching Chaos TV.
We are here in Provinssirock in Seinäjoki, Finland, with Tim from Rise Against. So first of hello and welcome to Chaos TV.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Mm-hmm. So how was the trip to Finland?
It was good. It was a little crazy. We were coming from Paris and we flew into the airport in Helsinki, and we've been staying at the airport and kind of living there last night. So it was like strange. I felt like what was that Tom Hanks movie where he was stuck in the airport? We were kind of like having dinner in the terminal and stuff like that. Okay. And then we took the 4-hour bus ride up here just now. It's beautiful. The countryside, just gorgeous. It's good to be here now. We fly right back to Switzerland after this. So it's kind of a whirlwind trip up here, but I'm sure it'll be worth it.
So earlier this year you played 2 shows in Helsinki with Architects. So do you have any memories from the shows back then?
They were great. They were awesome. The crowds were incredible. I think we did an all ages show and then also an 18 and over show. That was our first time properly hanging out in Helsinki too, and because we had 2 days, we had time to hang out there. Time to really take in the city and the sights and the museums and everything. It was very cold, but it was beautiful, and it was cool to see Helsinki in the summertime as well.
So how do you usually spend the time when you have time off in some totally new city?
We try to, check out if there's local shows or if there's a museum, or, just kind of take in as much of the culture as you possibly can. Usually anything that makes that city unique from another one is something fun to do. A lot of times we just kind of hang out, though, enjoy the day off and find a restaurant or a bar or a cafe and just chill out.
So do you usually tend to taste, for example, local cheese or local chocolate, or...
Yeah, if there's anything local, yeah, we'll definitely hang out. Though Finland seems to be known mostly for seafood and different meat things, and we don't really need seafood or meat, so it's sort of tricky up here. But elsewhere, yeah, we'll definitely find whatever makes that place unique. It's because we tour around, we play shows, and then when we have an off day, we're kind of just like tourists. We're just sort of traveling through and trying to, take full advantage of the fact that we're lucky enough to do something that puts us in a place like Helsinki for the day. Yeah.
So today you will be performing at Provinssirock, and last time when you played in a festival in Finland, you played in Ruisrock a few years back.
Right.
So do you have any expectations towards the show tonight?
That show was awesome. I remember it was Billy Talent and NoFX played, and we were right by this water, and it was beautiful, and the crowd was great. The crowd seemed like they were just kind of up for anything, whether it was dance or punk or indie rock or metal. People were just having a good time, and that's always a great sort of atmosphere to play a show in, is when people are just kind of having a good time and just appreciate good music no matter what genre it is. So I'm sure every festival is different, though, so I don't really know what to expect tonight.
So which do you prefer more, playing in clubs or playing in festivals?
I enjoy both, and I know that's kind of the easy answer, but I love it when this tour, for example, is great because we're doing half and half. Okay. And so you do some festivals, and just when you start to get burned out on festivals, you do a cool club show, and then when you start to do club shows, too many club shows, you do a festival again, And so festivals are fun because they're where we get to hook up with our friends, in Billy Talent, or we get to see Off play and that kind of thing. When you're on tour, you're seeing the same bands every night, which we usually enjoy because we usually tour with bands that we like. But it's fun to get out to a festival because then we kind of turn into fans. We're rushing from stage to stage, trying to see all of our favorite bands or some of our peers that are playing.
So you have played both in Europe and US, but what are the main differences between these two, playing wisely? Are the crowds different from each other?
The festivals are different. Europe takes festivals a lot more seriously, I'd say, than the US. It's more part of music culture to get your friends together, buy a bunch of beer, get a tent, and come hang out in the mud for a few days. You know what I mean? It's part of adolescence here, where it's not really like that in the States, or at least it's rare that it is. It's more this festivals out here are kind of like festivals, but they're also camping and they're having a good time and just hanging out with your friends. But to be honest, and so that's different in the festival world. But I mean, as far as the shows go and the fans, it's never been the differences that have kind of stuck out to me. It's always been the similarities, how much a punk show in Finland is similar to a punk show in Chicago, and that kind of, I think, speaks volumes about what punk and hardcore music is. It speaks to a level of human beings that knows no border, it knows no language. You know what I mean? It's sort of like its own language, it's its own place.
So are there like differences in the crowds? Do they like react differently in the States than they react in Europe?
I think, no, I mean, like, you have enthusiastic parts of Europe and you have less enthusiastic. I find that big cities are always a little less enthusiastic because they're, you know, and I grew up in a big city, I grew up in Chicago, and we were kind of music snobs, you know what I mean? Because every band came to Chicago, you know, and so it was always harder to get a crowd in Chicago to react because we were so spoiled with music. You know, you could go to a concert every night. But then if you were to come somewhere further out, like, for instance, I'm sure here is a lot further away from most major cities, you have enthusiastic fans who appreciate the fact that music came out to see them. And there's like that, it's like that in America too, where you'll have really rural areas, you know, where people are just excited to see music, but then you go to New York City or Paris or London, you know, and you have people who see music all the time.
Yeah. So your latest album Endgame was released like over a year ago. Yeah. So how far is actually at the moment the writing process for the next one? Have you even thought about the idea yet?
Honestly, I haven't. You know, we're still focused on Endgame. There's still songs on this record that we haven't even played live yet. We have the rest of this tour across Europe that we're doing. We have a tour with Gaslight Anthem and Hot Water Music in the fall across the States. We have a South American tour coming up. We're talking about South Africa potentially, and so we're kind of really focused on Endgame. We haven't turned the page yet. Like, we haven't moved on from this. It's still a record that, you know, I'm really excited about. People are still getting into it, and so we're trying to bring it to all the corners of the world before we start moving on to the next thing.
So as musicians you have already achieved pretty much, but do you still have like some goals, personal-wisely or band-wisely, that you would like to achieve in the future?
I think, you know, like I was saying, that we're all kind of travelers and we all love getting to new places. So there's so many different corners of the world that we love to play, places across Asia, places around the world that we haven't been to yet. You know, China and Cambodia and, you know, Malaysia, you know, and all these different places.
You haven't ever been to China?
No, we've never been to China. I don't think that China's going to let us in either. I don't think that China goes through all the lyrics and they go through all of the messages and they go through everything. Okay. And I think we might be deemed a little too controversial for China. Okay. I hope not. I hope they would let us in, but I've heard that it would be difficult for a band like us to actually get into China.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, there are still countries in this world like China, which is a communist country, you know, that have these censors that are in place, you know. A place like China, you know, you can't Google Tiananmen Square in China. You know, like, there are so many different examples of what's happening in places like that, which is scary. And I think that's a place where our music needs to be. Right? Yeah, you got to put water where the fire is. You know, that's where the fire is. You know, I think we could get away with Hong Kong, but I'm not sure if we can get anywhere else in China. But I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, we'll see in the future.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll find out.
So you have also worked with a lot of different musicians during the years, but are there like still some musicians that you would like to work with in the future?
Yeah, I can't. We've been able to tour with so many of our heroes, like Bad Religion and Rancid, The Descendants. We've done shows with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. It's been incredible. I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I mean, you know, we shoot for the stars. You know what I mean? We'd love to work with all of our heroes.
Well, you have toured like almost in every part of the globe, and of course you have also eaten a lot of different foods. Is it hard to get food when you're like vegan on like, for example, certain like cities in the world?
Right. Whereas it's hard to get vegan food in Japan, which, it's funny because I can eat it like any Japanese restaurant around the world, but I can't eat it at a Japanese restaurant in Japan. Yeah, I think that it's something about even the food that doesn't have meat in Japan will definitely have fish or a fish sauce in or something like that. So I found Japan is the hardest place. Any place that is very like seafood friendly you know, they don't usually have an option that's vegetarian. But being vegetarian has gotten so much easier in the last 10 years. Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, when I stopped eating meat, you know, veggie burgers were almost unheard of. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't get them in places. You have to go to like a specialty store to get it. You know, and going into a restaurant and finding a vegetarian option was, you know, really difficult. But nowadays it's really easy. I think you have people who either have stopped eating meat, or you just have like health conscious people who maybe don't want to eat meat that day. You know, and so you have restaurants and grocery stores accommodating that, and it turns it into an adventure, because when we show up to a town, we look for the vegetarian restaurant, and almost every town has, you know, one or two good vegetarian restaurants, or bad vegetarian restaurants, as restaurants go, and so we have our favorite places around the world, and we look for the places, you know, look for new places all the time. And it's cool to get, you know, we were in Moscow and we found a vegetarian restaurant in Moscow right near the Red Square and the Kremlin, and they had like a vegetarian version of like borscht, you know, and all that. So it's cool because you get to sample like the local cuisine, but you do it in a very different slant.
Where have you eaten the worst food so far?
Oh, the worst food so far? Oh, probably somewhere in America, you know, on the side of a road, you know, truck stop somewhere where you're just something deep fried, and, you know, it looks like a good idea at the time, and then you regret it later, you know. Lots of fried food in like Middle America.
So, as a last question, what is the craziest thing that you have seen, like from the stage in a festival, like in the crowd?
I've seen like a guy in a wheelchair crowd surfing, like the whole crowd picks him up, and he's crowd surfing in a wheelchair and like coming across like the crowd, and you just get really, when you see him getting closer to the barricade, and you wonder what's going to happen now. But they were really good about it.
But it went okay.
It went okay. He was fine. It was really kind of exciting to see that. You know, I'm sure that person never thought they'd be crowd surfing at a concert. You know, and it was a combination of just the elation that he must have felt, and then the amount of community that it took to make that happen. Yeah. That's a lot of people just kind of giving a shit. Yeah. You know, it was cool.
So, thank you very much for taking time off to do this interview with us, and good luck for tonight's show. Anything you want to say as a closer to your Finnish fans, you can grab the mic.
Cool, yeah, just a thank you to all of our fans in Finland. We've had some incredible shows here. Looking forward to today, and we can't wait to come back.
Thank you.